When I think of Vicky Kaushal, I see this person who's gone from like being an actor to almost becoming a brand. और जब आप एक ऐसे इंसान को एक ऐसे किरदार में कास्ट करते हो who's like a historical inspirational figure in himself, it can get a little dicey. Hi, I'm Pratiksha Mishra and you're listening to my review of Sam Bahadur. Sam Bahadur is the story of Sam Manekshaw, played by Vicky Kaushal, and it's essentially the story of how this person goes from his training days to becoming a Field Marshal and everything that he's done in between, the strategy, the wars that he has fought, all of it. Now, the way Meghna Gulzar writes just stories set in times of war is amazing. Like, it's, I think, genuinely one of my favorite kind of genres, just Meghna Gulzar filmmaking. तो इस मूवी में भी वो हमें देखने को मिलता है. Understandably, it's the story of a field marshal, so we're going to see a lot of times that are like either war-torn, or there are times when we're going to see defense strategies. All of these are very interesting to watch as films, I understand. But Gulzar brings a very like interesting touch to it, and almost very humane touch to it. Before we get into that aspect, हम लोग बात करते हैं lead actor की. Vicky Kaushal as an actor is great, but यहाँ पे I found it to be a little unconvincing because there were places where you could feel that he had put on a character. तो वो जो एक dissonance है of being able to tell where the mannerisms are being put on versus the mannerisms just being part of a character, वो आपको इस फिल्म में थोड़ा सा देखने को मिलता है. There are scenes, however, where we're seeing like Sam Manekshaw interact with the people around him, interact with his wife, his children, or the people that are working with him. वो scenes एक तो बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से capture किए गए हैं और दूसरी तरफ also have been acted very well. So I think Vicky Kaushal's performance in this is pretty much like half and half. Another performance to kind of consider in this film is Sanya Malhotra as Sam Manekshaw's wife Seelu. Their chemistry together, considering they're playing a married couple, is great, and it also helps कि उनका जो meeting वाला sequence है, the song that's playing at that moment is absolutely just heartwarming and just soulful. मुझे तो बहुत मजा आया उस गाने में. That is one thing I really like about this film, is that the music is pretty good, and that does elevate your film very often. But I digress. Coming back to the point, their chemistry is pretty good. Sana Malhotra also does very well with what she is given. उनके character में इतना कुछ ज़्यादा हमें देखने को मिलता है नहीं, but that's true for like all the side characters that we see in this film. We don't get a lot of like insight into their characters. But when there's an actor like Sanya Malhotra, I personally want to see more of her on screen. Coming to the point जो हम पहले बात कर रहे थे about the way Meghna Gulzar just views this film. As a director, I think the lens on this film is very sensitive. It's very well done. I think ऐसा बहुत बार होता है कि when we see like times of war, when we see stories that are being told of war, the emotion that we expect the most is like just anger and hatred and sometimes jingoism. What I like about this film is that it doesn't forget a very, very major emotion that we must have, which is empathy. Empathy for just all the lives that are affected in times of war. That empathy is present in Sam Bahadur, and that honestly makes this a much better film than it would have otherwise been. I think ये film अगर किसी और के भी हाथों में होती, you know, not Meghna Gulzar, it wouldn't have been as good a film as it is now. Considering that we're seeing one man's kind of journey play out, a lot of historical events come and go, and so do a lot of historical characters, including also Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, for that example. They just come and exit the plot. I do like the way this film is written because it doesn't feel very jarring, this kind of, you know, entry, exit of characters. So I like how we also get an insight into how this person is with the people that work with him. It's a very good insight into just, like, we see this person, it's a story of valor, it's a story of grit, it's a story of just being brilliant strategically, but it's like no man is an island, right? There's a lot of people who are helping every person in this world succeed. And it's nice to see the people that have surrounded Sam Manekshaw and how his ideas kind of came into fruition because of the people around him and also their bravery, their valor, their, you know, ideas of strategy. It's also smart to cast Vicky Kaushal in this role for that matter, because he's just the guy. He's just such a nice guy. It's very easy to believe him in such a role. In the film, Fatima Sana Sheikh also stars as Indira Gandhi. One complaint I do have about that is that it's just not imposing enough. And wahi, I think my complaint is also with the character of Sam Bahadur. All these characters are very like historical context में very important figures, और वो जो एक just वो imposing quality जो होना चाहिए वो इन characters में नहीं दिखता, and that's true for all of them. I understand wanting to root them in humanity, completely fair. I am in big support of giving, like, you know, humanity precedence over everything else, but usme bhi there is a way to kind of make that imposition happen. I like that we get to see the way everyone in the film has that kind of chemistry with each other. There's also something to be said about cameraman Jay Patel's work in this. the sensitivity that comes in this film, especially in the war scenes, I think a huge role has been played by the camera work. Also, it might at first seem a little lackluster, but I think in the way that the film was going, or that the theme that the film is following, kind of the lens that the film has, that lacklusterness was necessary. We didn't need to see the war scenes be like just, bloody and gruesome. What we needed to see was how Sam Manekshaw is essentially working behind the lines. Film ka jo run time hai thoda sa lengthy hai, and it might feel towards the end to be a little draggy. You're like, okay, let's get on with it. We've seen enough. But I think especially the sequences where we enter the phase of Manekshaw's life where the 1971 Indo-Pak war has started, those are some of the most interesting sequences to me, because you truly get to see कि filmmaker का vision क्या था, actor का vision क्या था, story कहाँ develop हो रही है. All of that, a lot happens in that segment. And that is why I think Sam Manekshaw as a film might not be a brilliant film. It's not a Razi. For sure, Razi is much better than this. But I do think there's a lot that you can take away from this film, and it definitely is worth a watch. I'm still kind of oscillating between a 3 or a 3.5 for this film, but I don't know, considering all the pros and cons of the film and just how it is as a visual experience, my rating for Sam Bahadur is 3 stars out of 5.